Okay then, so this is going to be the first video that I'm going to do, and it's regarding a rig that I've been working on for quite a while now. It's something that I'm quite proud of. No, in fact, I'm very proud of. I've created a rig that suits the water that I fish, and there doesn't seem to be anything out there. I was looking forever. I basically fish on a syndicate that's got a very silty lake bed, lots of leaf matter, and although I was getting the runs and I was getting the bites, I actually couldn't connect into the fish, and I'm scouring my brain. What am I doing wrong? Changing different rigs, changing baits, using all these variety of things that you can buy, monofilament booms. Oh, it was all there. And actually, it just came down to the presentation on the end, which is, as we all know, what the fish look for. But there was nothing really out there for a silty lake bed. So I have created the Silt Rig, something I've called it. You know, many of you will look at it and maybe you have used it, but there's definitely nothing on the internet about this rig. So I am putting it out there. So hopefully after watching this tutorial, you'll be able to make them yourself, and then you'll be able to put them on the bank. Because once that fish takes that bait, it ain't getting off. It is nailed every single time. So let's look down. We'll go through the making of the rig, all the components, and then we'll teach you how to tie it. Right then folks, let me introduce you to the Silt Rig. The components are a piece of black tubing, shrink tubing, small swivel that you can put your bait on, hook bead. It's got to be a curved shank hook. I'm using a barber's hook. I'll go through the hooks in a minute. Goes down, strip the braid to a BB shot, and then the size of your hook length to an anti-tangle sleeve. Okay, that's basically it. The way that the bait is presented is the way I do it, is via a piece of bait floss with the boilie. I normally snowman this, and then it's just presented off the top. You can see it is quite a long rig. The key points to look at is the way that the hook is presented over the shot like so, okay, but at the bottom it comes out the shrink tubing, and the way that the shot is presented is so when it's in flight it all lines up, okay, and that's key because you'll get tangles if you don't do that, but we'll go through all that in a minute. But there it is, that's the Silt Rig, and as you can see, potentially I don't think there's anything on the market or out there at the moment that does what this does. Absolutely awesome bit of kit. Definitely put some on the bank. I've had my personal best, a 32.6 mirror off this rig. So let's go and go through the components now. First of all, we're going to need a curved shank hook. Okay, it must be a curved shank hook. I've used the covert dark matter. Okay, I've used the Assassin Demons, the Corda curved shank, just the normal covert mugger hooks, so they're not the dark ones. Captor curved shanks. There's angling iron, the angling iron Duro Point, which is another good hook. It's got a nice angle on it. Okay, all these things, different sizes, as you can see, the size 10s, the size 8s, size 6s. You don't really want to go above a size 4 really, because then it doesn't present as well, I've found. So I tend to stick with a size 6, and that tends to work. And like I say, it's putting them on the bank for me. I'm going to need a piece of shrink tubing, and all I do is cut the shrink tubing in half. Just simply fold it and then cut it, and then as long as it's halfway, you'll be about right. That piece of shrink tubing is around about 5 centimeters, sort of an inch and a bit is enough. We then use an anti-tangle sleeve, a small swivel, okay, BB shot. Okay, I'll use these. These are nice. They're nice and dark. They don't shine. There's no colour on them. Like I said, I'm not advertising for anybody. This is just the kit I use. So this is what I'm going to show you. So we'll have one of those. You're going to need to strip your braid. I've got the quarter stripper here. That was from, I bought a nice little setup actually when I was at the one show, and they had a full set of needles and various other bits and bobs at a decent price. So I bought the full kit. So that's the quarter stripper we need as well. For the braid itself, I use the Nash TC, the Combi Link. It's the Silt coloured one. It's £25. It is absolutely perfect for this rig. It's really stiff. It makes sure, especially with the anti-tangle sleeve, that it pushes that bait out and then presents it nicely on the bottom. Absolutely cracking bit of kit. Definitely something you may wish to purchase. But obviously, any dark coated braid is going to be fine. But it's got to be fairly stiff. In fact, I would say the stiffer the better, to be honest. It is, and like I say, this £25 seems to just do it. Just comes with everything I want it to do. And then finally, a hook bead, which I forgot to get out. So I'll just get one of those, 2 seconds. And then a hook bead. The ones that I use are this type. You can get them off sort of eBay and things like that. It's a tiny little hook bead. All very dark. All very, all designed to look like a leaf stem, a twig, or whatever, with basically with a boilie set on top. That's the aim of the game. Okay. You are also going to need a baiting needle and a couple of hooks just to pull the rig and the knots and everything that we're going to do tight. Another option available is the bait screw. Okay, so instead of putting a swivel and using bait floss, you can actually just screw the bait direct into a screw there, which makes it nice and easy for quick changes and things like that. Okay then, so let's get on and we're going to make it. First of all then, we're going to get a length of braid. I normally go for around about a foot, okay, and that is enough. You don't want too big a hook length, so I normally do about a foot long. Okay then, so now what we're going to do is we're going to tie the knotless knot. For those of you that don't know how to do it, the way it works is we're going to come through the eye of the hook, but at the sharp end. Okay, so we come through, so it's coming from the front to the back of the hook, as if you were making a hair rig. But what we're going to do is just fold what would be the hair along the back of the shank of the hook, and then we're going to just turn once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times over the back of the knot again, and then simply push the main end, which is not been cut very well, so just let me just snip that up. Okay, so push that bit through. This can be fiddly, which is why it's more difficult with the smaller hooks. But if you just strip the braid off a little bit, I'll show you now, it's a perfect opportunity. We just strip the braid, so we're going to take the coating off. Just putting it in. You can use your nails, in fact, you don't need to use a braid stripper. Just take the tip of the coated braid off, okay? So you end up with, you can see it, just the actual braid underneath, okay? And then what that does is that actually makes it easier to get through the eye of the hook, as you can see, and then all we got to do then is pull it through. So a little tip I didn't even know I was going to pass on today. But there we go. So we've knotless knotted, okay, and we've got this tag end now, which we're just going to snip off. Like so, okay, and then you'll be left with this configuration. Okay, so now you've cut your rig tubing in half, like I said about earlier. What you need to be doing is looking at the length of the tubing. So you want to be covering the knot, okay? So it's going to be coming down here, it's going to be covering the knot, all right? And we want to be leaving enough to put a shot in there, okay? And then be able to strip that back. So all I'm going to do is strip it back. You can strip it back into the this I must admit, this is where the braid stripper comes into its own. We're going to strip it back towards the hook length. It doesn't matter, you don't need to take it off the hook, because the actual braid itself, because we are we're going to fill that or cover that with a shrink tube. So I've just done it like that, okay? You can see it's stripped back. Now if we put the shrink tubing on, for those purists amongst you, you know, you can obviously take it all off if that's what you want to do. I just tend to find it stays a lot stiffer and better if you keep the actual coating on. And then at this point now, what you've got is coated braid section, okay? It starts here, so you can see the coated braid section's here, and the sleeve, covering the knot, okay? And then comes through there. The last part we have to do now is, when you're happy with the position of the actual sleeve itself, get your baiting needle, and you want to come up about 3 or 4 mil from the bottom of the tubing. Just make a hole, but it needs to be direct line with the hook. Make the hole. Okay, put the needle through. Attach the braid to the baiting needle. Like that. And then simply pull it back through the hole. So you'll end up with configuration like that. So make sure it's all lined up. I tend to look down the actual tube itself. Okay, make sure that it's coming out in the same direction as the hook, and then you're going to be level with the hook, okay? And then that is where we're going to shrink it. So just hold it over a kettle and then shrink it down. Don't need to show you that. Once you've shrunk it, okay, you'll be looking at something like that. So like that. Now you can see, obviously it is quite an aggressive hook, and it's designed to sit off the bottom. So if this was the bottom, it will sit off the bottom at quite a height, with obviously the bait coming off the end. The fish, this is obviously from the top, come over the top, and literally it is every single time. It is such an aggressive rig that it will turn and it will catch. I've never had one spat out, put it that way. So it just I don't know, they just can't seem to eject it, which is exactly what we're all looking for, to be fair. Okay then, so next stage, what we're going to do is we're going to put the shot on. Okay, and the shot is going to sit on that uncoated section that you've done. Oops, excuse me a second. And what you're aiming to do is get the shot so it comes in line. Just might have to open it up a little bit more. The shot comes in line when the braid is pulled tight with the bottom of the shrink tubing. Give that a little tighten. So there we go. It's like that. Side on, in flight. And that's the kind of configuration you're looking for. Okay, it just stops the tangles. And there we go. So that's it there. Just a final bit now at the business end. Okay, so what we're going to look at is putting on the swivel. Pretty standard, don't need to go for anything. I'm just going to put the swivel on. Okay, swivel won't go off, obviously because of the shrink tubing. And then when I'm putting the hook bead on, I use the slim end. So I will be putting it on this end first. Okay, and that's the way I do it because it just seems to present better, to be honest. So you're going through, it is quite fiddly this bit, okay, but just get it in. So get the sharp end of the hook, pop it through, and then simply pull it round. Like most other rigs, you want it to be in line with where the barb would be, in my case, on this barbless hook. But you just want it so eventually when it's sat, the bait is sitting above the point. And that's the way it works. So that's with the hook on. And then all that we've got to do now is put the anti-tangle sleeve on. So you just thread that onto the end. I'll have to snip it back again because go. So I'm just going to slip the anti-tangle sleeve on, okay, like so, and then I'm going to just create a figure of 8. So you're basically making a loop, turning the loop on itself, overhand, give the second loop a twist, and then pop the first loop back through. Okay, and that's a nice strong knot, nice strong loop that will hold. And then this again is fiddly, but there we go. So that's through, makes the figure of 8 as you can see, and then we're just going to pull that tight, and there we go. Now this is where you're going to need your 2 hooks. So you just simply hook on one end, hook on the actual hook, and then just pull it nice and tight. Okay, tiny things that are going to pull that out. Snip off the tag in there, and then the anti-tangle sleeve comes over, and that is it. Like I said, a nice rig. There's the other one I made. Okay, as you can see, comparison, a bit of a longer hook length on that one, but they are absolutely deadly. Give them a go. Please leave me some feedback if this tutorial has been any good to you. Just one last thing, when I'm presenting it, what I do is with an inline lead, I make my own leaders. I don't use lead core. I use this stuff. Definitely worth looking into. Obviously, same again, it's silty at the bottom of the lake, so I use the muddy silt, but this is the Camflex lead free by Gardner, £45. Very nice, very supple. It's lovely and easy to splice. So if anybody's interested in me doing a splicing video, I'll show you. But all I do is the attachments I use are these connector swivels like this at the end, and all I simply do is hook that over, and then the anti-tangle sleeve comes up to seal the deal right to the bottom, and that is your presentation. So you should be looking something like that. As you can see, nice and neat. Okay, and then I put a bead onto the leader that stops down there, and then I use an inline lead. Absolutely deadly. Give it a go and let me know how you get on. Let's put them on the bank. Let's keep basic carping going, and I hope that this video has been of some use to you. Please remember to subscribe and hit that bell icon. Start sharing my videos. Let's get it out in the open, and let's get this stuff out to the people that need it. Cheers.